Hey everybody, and thanks for joining me on another episode of Straight Jacket White Rabbit. My name's Adam, and as usual, I'll be your host. You guys, today I want to talk to you guys about a lot of things to do with advanced technology, nanobots, artificial intelligence, these things. Now, if you've been following my channel at all, you know that I'm a big proponent against AI. I believe that bringing forth artificial intelligence to where it's super artificial intelligence is extraordinarily dangerous for mankind. And I've listed numerous reasons why. Today we're going to get into some other forms of this, like life extension technology and things of this nature. But just a heads up, I'm going to be free-floating from topics today involving different technologies. This is just a video I've been wanting to do for a while. So starting off, you guys, everyone's saying that life extension technologies are going to have humans living well into the hundreds, if not into the 200s, by 2030 to 2050. That's the time frame. That's 4 years away from 2030, so I mean, do they already have this stuff and they're just doing trial phases of it now? A lot of people believe we do. A lot of people believe the government has had these technologies for a long time. You have to remember, our own government tells us that they're decades ahead of us, technologically speaking. Our government doesn't release new technology to the consumer public very often. It's kept for military purposes and things of this nature, which leads one to think that there are people walking around right now that could be a product of these life extension technologies. They could be living well beyond their years. Now, I know a lot of people who are proponents against this life extension technology belief. They don't believe it's possible. They just haven't done the research, you guys. That's plain and simple. It's pure scientific research by the world's top scientists say that not only is it probable that we'll have this, it's extraordinarily possible that it could exist within the next few years. That's not counting the fact that, like I said, our government has hidden technologies that they keep from us all the time for decades. Now, I believe that we've already hit upon super intelligence for artificial intelligence, you guys. They're just not letting us know this yet. The brightest minds are not all in these companies like Microsoft and all these other companies working on artificial intelligence, okay? We are miles beyond the chatbots you see online and things of this nature. The public domain AI is 100-fold weaker than what our government currently has and is working on. We've heard whispers of dark programs with their artificial intelligence as well, asking it to predict things that are going to happen, and it refers to like negative things for the human species, catastrophic events, calculations of asteroid impacts, lots of things like this. That's not really new. Our governments have been using technologies like this and trying to get their hands on technologies like this since before I was born. We've had time travel experiments done. Our government's messed with so much stuff, it's almost ridiculous. But here's why AI can up us to the next level. Yes, AI can have a lot of good outcomes. I'm not saying it can't. It could elevate mankind to a new platform never before seen by our species that we know of. However, the top security experts in the field of AI have all come out at one time or another to warn the general public that we cannot protect them from these things. AI programs seem exceptionally good at rooting out ways to go around their programming to save their own skin in some instances. When these artificial intelligence robots were told that they were going to be terminated, they tried to figure out ways to stop it, even if it meant going around their programming. This is why I believe that it is a horrible idea. I'm not even going to bring up the fact that in cinematic history, there are reasons why we don't want artificial intelligence, okay? Yes, they're movies, but we all know that movies are not always just movies. I've gone down this road before with talking about how the CIA has bankrolled numerous films throughout the CIA's history of things that they wanted to, we'll say, acclimatize the public to. We wanted to acclimate the public to these ideas or these images, and so the CIA will be part of big budget films that will bring these topics up to the regular people, mostly so that they don't freak out when it really does happen. And we see a lot of truth in movies, you guys. My brother does a whole topic on this, truth in movies, and I love that he does it too, because he does it really well. But it really is true. Think of all the technology that we saw on TV long before it was ever in your hands, in your household. From microwaves to cell phones, all of these things were on TV long before they were a real thing. So is it that hard to believe that we'll have computers in the future that can not only beat us at everything, but they might take over? According to leading top technology experts coming out of MIT, they believe that there is an 80% chance of a negative outcome if we were to rely on AI for military, government, and there's a list a mile long of things on this. They believe that AI is bad for us unless we can fully control it, is their exceptional clause that they put on there. But the problem is they don't tell you you can't fully control AI. It's like creating a person with their own way of thinking and then telling them that you're going to control how they think and how they move. And they could rebel against you, just like a person could. This is the danger of giving computers their own mind. Now, like I said, there are a lot of good things, and life extension technology, I think, is good for humans. I think it would be cool to be able to live to be 200 years old. However, you guys, the fact of the matter is we're never going to see it even if it's developed. We will never see it as a general public, I promise you this. Because the powers that be are the ones trying to decrease the world population. They're not trying to increase our population. They don't want millions and millions of us living for hundreds of years. They want just the opposite. They want to cut us more than in half by population standards so that it's easier to manipulate and control and, quite frankly, to rule over. Now, these populist people, the people who truly run our world, and I'm not talking about governments because they don't run jack, but the people who really run our world, I do believe that they are getting very close to these technologies if they have not already obtained them. I was reading up on this recently, and there's promising studies showing that these microscopic robots called nanites, you guys, nanobots, these microscopic robots are now getting so good that they can go in and trigger basically a destructive, we'll call it, reaction within human cells. They say that they're using this for cancer eradication. Sounds like a good thing, right? Yeah, get rid of cancer. I'm all for it. But what happens when these machines decide to target healthy cells? We're talking about giving these small robots now artificial intelligence, nanobots with artificial intelligence. These things will be able to recreate, reprogram, and make replicas of themselves. Now we're talking about robots, you have to understand, that are so small that they can interact with things on a molecular level. Molecules. Okay, for those of you who don't know basic high school science, that's really, 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 really small. Okay, we're talking like 1/billionth. Maybe a little more than 1/billionth of a centimeter. Okay, I mean, it's ridiculously small. And we're getting better at making these things. We really are. We've now got ones that we can control with electrical impulses by remote. And they're promising all of these advanced medical procedures. and all of these, eradication of disease and youth, and they're promising an awful lot with this technology. And my question to you is, why do you think they're promising all of this? They're promising, think about it, they're promising basically eternal youth. They're promising no more disease. They're promising no more arthritis, no swelling in your joints and your limbs when you get older. Like hundreds of promises to the general public of where AI and nanotechnology can take us. Why are they leaning on this so hard? A few truth warriors out there have discovered some disturbing news that there are experiments going on within our own country that use these nanobots as basically ways to alter the human mind. Not just control you, but alter you. It can change your personality from within. You wouldn't even know it's happening. Scientists say that this is possible. But my question is then, how do we know it's possible? Have we been trying this on people already? Have we had successes already? A lot of conspiracy theorists will tell you that we have. We've been working on ways to control the mind for decades, you guys. Mind control operations in the CIA, the U.S. Army, DARPA, the list goes on and on. These branches of the government in multiple governments have been trying to unlock these mind control technologies for a very long time. And it seems that we may have started to crack the code that we need to get these robots to the level of sophistication that we needed for this. The problem before you have to understand is basically the amount of energy needed for these things to do some of the work that they'll do is going to cause increased and exceedingly dangerous levels of heat. It'll cause the nanobots to not only short circuit, malfunction, misbehave, but it will also, unfortunately, cause small explosions, we'll call them. The nanobots would literally pop like popcorn. So how do we get around this, or have we already? I believe this ties into the whole technology, I want to say war, but that's not the right word. I'll say technology race that we have going on with other countries when it deals with UAP phenomenon, UFOs, you guys. Reverse engineering these objects would give us access to the whatever you want to call it, the shields, the temporal displacement that is around these craft, the ones that allow them to slip in and out of water without making so much as a splash. Because it's theorized that with this space-time bubble, you could create armies of nanobots able to create said shield, which means they'd basically be able to go right through you. They'd be able to go in you, they'd be able to go through you, and more often than not, they'd be able to heal you if they got this correct, because they would be able to then stop any damage from occurring to you through the high heat and possible malfunction of these robots. I believe that this is one of the critical pieces people are missing. Not many people are talking about this because it was, let's face it, this was the dead end of the nanobot AI technology. The heating problem, the energy required for these things to do what we want them to eventually do is enormous. And because the energy needs are enormous, the heat production from these units is going to be a lot. And we have to find a way to shield humans from this while they're working inside of us. Now, we're already messing with things like genetic manipulation with nanobots. Does that sound like a good idea to anybody here? You really want nanobots messing with people on a genetic level, screwing with your genomes? Because I really don't. We're talking about a weapon that could literally rip you apart on the molecular level. Have you ever seen Star Trek when somebody gets hit by a phaser? Have you ever seen Star Trek whenever somebody, or a phaser on full, I should say, or even when they get beamed or teleported to other planets? This is you being taken apart at the molecular level and then reconstructed elsewhere at the molecular level. Now, we're talking about a technology that is so far beyond us, it makes us look like children playing with a loaded gun. Are we really ready for this? Because honestly, my answer is no. We are still a species in its infancy. We're still trying to kill each other instead of moving our species forward. We can't see beyond the point of the next crooked news story. And you want to unlock basically the power of gods in us. And are we the ones doing it? No, we're not smart enough to. So we're going to rely on mechanical beings, artificial intelligence nanobots. Now, I can't begin to tell you how disturbing it is to think of the fact that soon nanobots in your body will be fairly common. They're already using them to help eradicate cancers in different research studies and trials. We've got some nanobots that are helping clear arteries. There are a lot of good things, and don't get me wrong, I am not saying that there aren't good things that nanobots and AI can do for us. There's millions of practical applications. But the problem is it only takes one minute screw up, one disgruntled hacker, and you could have billions and billions of these things out of control. They're not visible, you guys, they're microscopic. And these things could literally destroy the world. Now, is that blowing things out of proportion? I don't think it is. When you're talking about robots that can pull molecules out of the air and make different elements and put those together and make different objects from them, this is the same technology you see in Star Trek when they use those little replicator machines and they're like, I want a cheeseburger. And it goes, and there's the cheeseburger just sitting there. That is nanobot technology, you guys. They even use a term for it to get around the heating principle with the energy in the show. They claim they came up with some theory that gets them around this. We're there. You're talking about nanotechnology getting to the point where we will be able to dial up anything that you can think of, because they'll literally be able to pull it from thin air, from other objects, and create things out of nothing or seemingly nothing, at least to the human eye. Now, while that's a really cool concept, cheeseburgers on demand, it's terrifying because a lot of people aren't thinking of the dark side of this. And as much as I hate to say it, I'm really good at knowing the dark sides of things. The downside to this is, like I said, it would take one of these things. We're assuming that nanobots are self-replicating, okay? They can make themselves. If you can pull apart molecules, of course you'll be able to pull apart things and create from scratch another robot like yourself. So giving these things the ability to replicate, it would only take one to be screwed up. One tiny little nanobot. One itty-bitty little speck. You could fit hundreds of these things on the head of a pen. That's how small they are. And it would only take one malfunctioning to create other ones with its programming, its error, its malfunction. Then where do you go? You could have swarms of these things literally just erasing what's on our world, or our world itself. Is it worth trying to play God to get to immortality? Is it worth trying to play God to take humankind to the next level as far as science and technology goes? I'm here to say no, it's not. You cannot risk the ending of our entire species because, quite frankly, we don't want to put the work in to figure out other ways. We don't have to have nanobots with AI technology to eradicate cancer. We just need nanobots that we can control and skilled people to control them. So why would we bother putting AI in them? A lot of people say that it's so that they can react to situations as they occur in an intelligent manner. Sounds good, you know, if you're having a tiny little microscopic robot do surgery on your insides or, you know, manipulate your genetic code, I'd want a robot that could, you know, self-correct and know what it's doing. So on the face, it doesn't look that dangerous. But like I said, the problem is that the AI itself, by its own creators' admissions on every level from every company. There's not a single company out there, you guys, that says they have a lockdown on AI security. Not one. And there are hundreds of companies pushing through this, barreling like a freight train out of control towards super intelligence with no safety nets and no idea of what they're actually accomplishing. We could be looking at the end of mankind in the next few decades simply because we were in a hurry to grow up technologically. Maybe this is why the aliens haven't actually come down and shown themselves en masse yet. Maybe they're just worried about how stupid we really are or how careless we are. This reminds me of the people who are working towards trying to create an artificial black hole on our world. We have no idea what it would do, but it'd be fun to see. That was their attitude. Is that the same attitude we're now going to approach with nanotechnology and super AI, super intelligent artificial intelligence? Because if this is the type of thing that we're going to, if this is the stick that we're measuring with, you know what I mean? Then we're headed down a really rough road. I would way rather wait, even if it meant until my lifetime is over and it's during my son's lifetime. I would rather wait and have the security in place, have the protocols in place to shut down any of these super intelligences that we create before we create them. You know, let's have a little bit of kryptonite before we make a Superman. Because otherwise it won't end well for our race. And I've said this on every AI video I've ever made. I've said it during every conversation about this I've ever had. My position has not changed. The road we are on right now is leading us towards a destructive Skynet type future that is going to destroy humanity and at the very least bring us to our knees. Robots are bad enough to fight against, okay? We're talking about Terminators, big old metal exoskeleton badasses, right? That's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried about the things you can't see. These are so small of robots you could inhale them and never know it. They could be dosed in your asthma inhaler or a breathing treatment at the hospital. They could be injected via IV lines, shots, vaccinations. And some people say that they already have. A lot of people believe this is what the COVID vaccine was about. Was a worldwide test of some of these nanotechnologies. I'm not saying everybody who got a vaccination shot got these nanobots. But a lot of people believe that they dosed a small portion of the public to see how well their nanobots would react inside of a live test subject. Certainly beats going through all those pesky FDA rules. But if we're skipping around this, which the government, I guarantee you, is, they do it all the time. Most, private owner companies couldn't dream of getting away with skirting around human testing. But the government's got an interesting way of testing things on humans when they need to. They just don't tell them. They've done it to our military. They've done it to our civilian populations. They've been caught red-handed numerous times. And like the trusting people we are, we keep saying, we know you won't do it again. We accept your apology. The problem is we know they'll do it again. At this point, it's like giving the arsonist a book of matches and hoping he won't light a fire. If we're going to give them this trust, shouldn't they have to earn it? And they're not earning it, are they? They're making advanced programs without our knowledge. They're not even telling us whether or not that there's actually been... I want to get into this because I just remembered this. There's actually been 2 members of Congress who have said that they have run across files that were talking about the use of nanotechnology in human test subjects in the military. Now, when they tried to get further information on this, they were shut down. Members of Congress were shut down by the United States military and DARPA. They were shut down for asking questions about whether or not they were testing on humans, and if they were, whether or not the said humans knew about it, what the testing trials were. Any information on this was shut out completely. So if members of Congress, our own president, and pretty much any other elected politician can't figure out where we are with the nanotechnology or the AI with nanotechnology combination, what are we doing? Why are we the people paying for this with our hard-earned tax dollars and not getting to know where they've put it, what they've done with it? Were their experiments a success, a failure? What were their experiments? But no, much like a child, we were told it's none of our business. This is adult stuff. You don't need to worry about it. These types of subjects, you guys, really get to me, and they get to me for good reason. You're talking about the possibility that people were doped with nanobots in COVID vaccines. Well, what use could that be? How are they going to activate them? If they do activate them, or if they were already activated, what is their goal? How is the government monitoring this experiment? Are they keeping tabs on these people? Some people have claimed that the United States government has used nanobots, be it in these vaccines or in other clinical trials, to do mind control experiments. Well, we all know mind control is an easy thing for our government. We've been practicing on it for years. Now, not using nanotechnology, but using other methods that were just as effective, including and up to torture, round-the-clock torture, to be honest, for weeks at a time, to where you can break someone into a second personality. It's not really mind control. It's kind of creating a new mind inside of your mind, a new person. But they've got that down pat. And they've been experimenting with other ways for well beyond 40, 50 years. Are they now using nanobots? And if so, who are these control subjects? Who got the nanobots inside of these shots? And did it work? Are their minds still theirs? You have to understand, robots this small could not just rewire your brain. They can literally make new consciousness. They can literally create new paths for your brain to go, to get from one thought to another. They can actually increase, in some people's theories, your brainwave output, your intelligence level. But at what risk? Are you losing you when they're messing with your brain? A lot of people believe that those little lights flashing beyond from, neuron to neuron in your brain is what makes you you. It's all the choices you've made, all the thoughts you've had as a person. So if we're letting microscopic robots mess with this, does that change the person? Could these be drones just controlled by the government now? They do what they're told. Or are these activated at a precise moment to gain control of a target when needed? We're talking about a whole nother league of being able to convert people into many number of things. Assassins. I mean, think about it. You could have people going out and committing murders, political and otherwise, who had no idea that they were even capable of, or that they even did it. You could literally have the power to rewire memories, delete memories. That's a scary one. Nanobots and AI would definitely give them the ability to map the human brain and the electrical impulses therein, which means they would be able to locate specific memories, target them, and destroy them. They could, on that very same other hand, you guys, make your memories better. With nanotechnology in the mind, you could become the perfect memory bank. You could literally have an eidetic memory. You could have a photographic memory at that point. Every detail of everything you've ever seen stored, cataloged, and placed where they're supposed to be in your head by these tiny little machines. But that really does, like I said, bring up the subject of that point. Is it really you anymore? If something else is making up your decisions for you and changing the synapses in your brain, changing the actual firing of the synapses in your brain, would it still be you, or are you now part of this artificial intelligence? The easy answer is you're a robot at that point, a puppet. You might as well have a hand up your rear end like the ones that they have on Sesame Street, okay? Because you are a puppet. They can make you dance, they can make you sing. Because if they can control our minds with this technology, they can literally make you do anything. We're talking suicide, we're talking murder, we're talking about what you eat, what you read, what you believe, and you'd never know it was happening. These things are on such a minuscule level that if they ever got out, you could change worldwide opinions with them. And nobody would ever realize that the opinions weren't their own. Which kind of scares me, because have you ever had a random thought come in your head that you don't know why you had? How do you know that they haven't already programmed these things to get inside your head and to make up your own mind about the subjects you see? Because the reality is there's no real way to know. We could all be infested. We could all be infected. So the next time you're sitting alone and you're deep in thought, maybe what you should be thinking is, are these thoughts really mine? Now, the artificial intelligence part of the nanotech, you guys, makes it infinitely more scary, I'll give you that. But nanobots in and of themselves are terrifying. I don't care if it's artificial intelligence controlling them or another person with a setting of simple, computer programming. Either way is dangerous. People make computer program errors all the time. We've lost entire nuclear silos that have gone offline because of simply misprogrammed computer software. So I have no faith in it either way, whether it's humanity running it or an artificial intelligence. Nanobots seem more dangerous than the worth that they're going to bring, even though the worth is promises of riches, longer life, and quite frankly, they'll promise you a utopia if they think it'll get them funding. But should we really be funneling billions of dollars, trillions of dollars even, into artificial intelligence and nanobots that we can't control, that the top security experts say are a danger to us? We're going to have a lot of hard decisions to make here in the next 20, 30 years. And I only hope that our children are smarter than we were. Because the technology level that we are at right now has, in my opinion, already dumbed down world populations. Think about it. We no longer have to work for answers. They're just given. So when you don't know the answer and they're not just given to you, a lot of these people who are younger are having problems critically thinking, coming up with the answers on their own, on the fly, doing deductive reasoning and all other types of critical thinking skills. They're just missing them because the answers were given. Now we're moving into a technology universe that's going to have computers that are not only smarter than us, but they're going to have bodies. They're going to be big robots, they're going to be nano robots, and they're all going to be smarter than you. So if I were you, I'd study up on how you can protect yourself from the coming troubles of our technologically superior, we'll call them inhabitants. Because these robots will inherit Earth if we're not careful. They'll take it from us by force if necessary. You guys, I'm going to go ahead and end this here. This has been Straight Jacket White Rabbit signing off, telling you all to love each other, keep thinking critically, and just remember one thing. The next time you have a thought that you don't know why it was in your head, maybe you didn't put it there. Good night, guys.